So let's go ahead and jump into then this, and let's see if this is any value for you, right? So in doing this, so here we go. So what I'm trying to do, and once again, I'm testing my own abilities here, right? This is not something I normally have done. So I'm trying to figure it out as I go, and I'm trying to get better at, putting things the way they're supposed to be put so that somebody new gets it, they understand it. So, well, here we have just an introduction, and then I put system agnostic, because if people don't know what system agnostic is, especially for some people who, like I said, who don't know what OSR is, they don't know tabletop systems, they don't know any of those things. I try to explain that best way I know how. There's better ways to explain it, and other people explain it far better than I do. But I'm going to put an explanation so people know what it is. Then I have the contents, and in this particular contents, I have the corrupted and their auras. So now I've given these, because what the hex does, it gives these undead auras. They carry this aura with them, and they're never alone. You're never going to find one. Normal zombies, maybe. Probably not even there either. They're always going to be in packs. They're going to be running in groups. And then they have boons and banes, alternate corrupted aura tables. There's creatures. Once again, these are from Jeremy Hart. Fantastic artist. Love his work. Can't recommend it enough. You have the Shadow Horde, the Bone Lords, the Vrikolak, which I think I got that from Greece. From there, it's a Greek word for vampire. And then you have the Marrow Lich, which I really like. And then I created a subclass called the Necrologist. And then the Necrologist, well, we'll get into that in a minute. So I give the corrupted, I give a brief, in each one of them, I'll give a brief explanation of how we got here. The Witches of the Blackened Earth, consumed by a desire for revenge, cast a potent hex intended to bring them power and control. The hex instead unleashed a catastrophic chain of events. Okay, so that's basically that. I'm giving people just a little background, and then why the corrupted are the way they are. The corrupted now roam the land, but them eating your brain should be the least of your worries. So I give you a few thoughts about the corrupted. They're diverse. Some are fast, some are slow. Some can garble simple phrases and their former lives, from their former lives, and some have retained their intelligence. By the way, if I find any typos, I'm going to fix them immediately, and you will get new ones. If I in fact missed a typo, it's entirely possible. I'm looking for them. You don't have to look for them, because I trust me. When I'm reading this, I'm going, oh, this is 1.4, by the way, and I sent Tim Shorts a copy of it. I must have sent him 4 different copies of that. So the corrupted do not travel solo. They only travel in groups. See tables. Each of the corrupted brings both a boon and bane to their opposition, because corrupted magic. So here's the corrupted encounter. Here's the corruption table, and I've tried to make them to where they kind of complement one another. You can find small groups, big groups. You're just going to find what you're going to find out there. It's a horror hex crawl, so it is what it is. And one thing I tried to do with these auras is because what I tried to do with the boon and the bane is that when you run into a horde or you run into a group of them, it can either favor you or it can favor the corrupted, right? It's just another tool that when you run into them, you don't know exactly what you're going to run into. It's hard to determine. I don't want player characters guessing like, oh, I already know what this thing does. I already know what these things do. No. Something can happen in there that's not going to favor you. Example, the boons and banes. So when characters encounter the corrupted, someone in the party will roll a d6. This will determine the corrupted will determine if the corrupted carry a bane aura or a boon aura or no aura. Now this is the simple part. 1 or 2 is a bane. 3 or 4, no effect. 5 or 6, there's a boon. So banes, bad for the party. Boons, good for the party. And 3 or 4, no effect. You could just say no advantage goes to either group, right? Then I give you an alternate table on a 3 or 4. So maybe on a 3 or 4, unstable ground. The ground in the area is unstable, creating difficult terrain for both the players and the undead. This could lead to unexpected falls, making combat more chaotic. roll a one-time save versus an applicable stat for each party. A save means you do not have to roll again. So in other words, if there's unstable ground, if these things are coming along, maybe the ground is bursting apart. Maybe there's rocks popping up. Maybe you can say anything that's creating an unstable. Maybe the ground's shaking, right? So you can put different things according to your game in there that would create unstable ground. That if you save once, that's it. Now you've adjusted. Your character has adjusted to the ground, and you don't need to roll anymore. But if you fail, then you're gonna have to save until you have to save until you do, because otherwise you're going to be maybe at a disadvantage with whatever you're doing, because you're navigating the ground, because the ground is shaking, because you can't adapt. It's going to affect the way you attack. It's going to affect some of your other rolls. Maybe there's an environmental hazard. A sudden environmental hazard arises, such as collapsing ceiling. If you're indoors, a rising tide, a sudden sandstorm, exploding fire pits, sinkholes, or plant overgrowth. This forces both sides to adapt and overcome the new challenge. Maybe it's a distraction, right? A loud noise or sudden. So maybe there's a scream. Maybe there's howling. Maybe the undead are coming along and there's a bright glow, or the aura is shining around them, and it's distracting to the players. So the unrelated events distract both the players and the corrupted, creating a brief window of opportunity or a temporary lull in the action. Both parties must roll a check versus an applicable stat, whichever that is for you, whatever game you're playing. Those who fail continue to fight at disadvantage, whatever that is in your game. Then you have the echolocation, which I think this is very similar to what Tim did in our Shadow Dart game. I don't know if I would call it that or not, but somehow these undead could see us in ways that I did not know could be seen. So this echolocation is the corrupted gain a temporary advantage in echolocation, allowing them to sense the player's positions more accurately. This can be countered by the players using means to obscure themselves, roll versus an applicable stat, to avoid detection. So they can hide, they can cover themselves in mud, they can, something is happening that is allowing the corrupted to see them in ways that they had not planned on being seen. So there's ways of doing that. Then we get into the actual creatures. You have the Shadow Horde. And I put very simple, easy things there. They're easy. Their armor class is easy, so easy to hit. They have a D6 hit dice. And you can determine, so if you say you think they're 2D6, okay, then you roll 2D6, and that's going to be the hit points for all of them. They're going to be, between 2 and 12 hit points, or they're going to be 1 and 6 hit points, whatever you want. They have, the damage they do is a clubbing blow. They have, their aura is going to be specific to them, which is oppressive darkness. If it's a boon, PCs have advantage on stealth checks, so maybe you can hide very much far easier if you don't want to do combat with them. In the Bane, PCs have disadvantage on perception checks, and any magic that deals radiant damage is less effective against them. So the shadow is a real thing that's causing real-time problems for the PCs. Then you have the Bone Lords. These are the skeletal creatures whose bones are held together by dark, tainted magic. They are incredibly strong, large, and resistant to physical damage. So you can do a resistance where you hit, but you're not. It's going to be -2 on physical hits, unless you have a magical weapon, maybe. Right? Movement is medium. Armor class medium, so a little higher. So if you want to do armor class, whatever the armor class, if you're doing ascending, descending, however you're doing it in your game, you can do it appropriately. D8 is, of course, you can do 1D8, you can do 2D8. Then you have grapple and squeeze, which gives a 1D8 plus damage there. You have the corrupted aura, which is deathly grasp. These bone creatures like to grab you and maybe maybe their bones extend from their body and trap you. So you're actually gripped by these extended bones that come off of them that put you in like a little cage of some kind. But PCs have advantage on offensive and defensive grapple checks. So once you get grappled, you can have advantage on getting out because you've figured something out. Banes, if a PC is struck, they make They must make a roll versus an applicable stat versus rigor mortis. I really like this. I'll be honest with you. I thought this was probably one of my favorite things I thought of. Rigor mortis or paralyzation will set in within 4 rounds. So basically, you think of a dead body, or that you're starting now. Your body is starting to seize up on you. So basically, what that says, once that happens, it's -1 to hit round 1 until you figure it out. Until you've either gotten out of the grip, or until you've gotten away from them, until you've saved, maybe. So every round you're going to save. Round 1, if you lose your save, if you save, you're done. Rigor mortis will not affect you. But if you fail, right, a fail affects their ability to hit during that round. So if you miss round 1, it's going to be -1 to hit till the next round. Till the end of the next round. Round 2, if you fail, it's gonna be -3, and so forth. Your bones everything is just gonna start to seize up. You're like, and you're trying to hit. It's not gonna work very well, but it could cause a lot of funny moments. So then you have the Vricolac. These creatures must be sustained with the flesh and blood of others. Humanoids and others are treated like cattle and reproduce for food. Movement is medium. AC is hard, so once again, adjust accordingly. D10 hit dice, so could be 1d10, 2d10, however you choose to do that. You either get 2 claws at 1d6 plus a bite 1d8. So you're getting 2 claws and a bite. Their corrupted aura is a bloodlust, and the bloodlust is when the battle concludes. The PC's, the boon is, whichever PC draws first blood, they are consumed with bloodlust and receive an extra attack for the duration of the battle. When the battle concludes, the bane is that when the PC who drew first blood must roll to constrain themselves or continue attacking the nearest PC to them. And then if a character is bitten, in this case, you're going to be turned. If a character is bitten by a Vricolac, they must roll versus an applicable stat. Maybe that's, whatever, death. Maybe it's roll versus death. Maybe it's roll versus your constitution, whatever it is. On a failure, the PC begins the turning process of turning, and the character will become a Vricolac in 1d6 days, barring a remove curse spell. So you can get free of it. You just gotta, within 1 to 6, roll it, and then you're gonna be like, okay, effects are gonna start happening. Your fingers are gonna start to grow. You're gonna you start turning into Nosferatu or whatever. Something, you start seeing the physical manifestations of you turning. So you want to find a remove curse as quickly as possible, if there is one. The Marrow Lich, and that would also affect, obviously, if maybe you start turning evil. Once again, that's up to your game. In this case, we have the Marrow Lich, and the Marrow Lich is skeletal abomination. Its bones twisted and contorted into unnatural shapes. Hollow sockets that glow with an eerie, malevolent green light. Unlike other corrupted, the Marrow Lich draws its power not from necromantic energies, but from the very essence of its victims, consuming their marrow and draining them of vitality. Movement is medium. AC is hard, resistant to melee combat. HD is 12, so you notice I'm just ascending with the HD, so I'm making these things, leveling them up in some way to show you that it's going from this to that. The damage that a Marrow Lich does: 2 claws, 1d8. Or 1 spell. So I've tried to balance this as best I can. Save versus necrotic damage, 1d10. The corrupted aura is life drain in these. So the boon is PCs gain a one-time boost to life because you're drawing off of them. Something happens and you're now drawing off of them. And you gain 1d10. Or Bane, you're going to lose 1d10 life points. Spells. The Marrow Lich can cast 1 of 3 spells 1 time each. So in other words, you're not going to run into they're going to get 3, and not 3 every round. They're going to get just 3. Let's see. The spell weakens the bones. I like this Bone Wither, by the way, because I think this adds a, pun intended, crunchiness to it. This spell weakens the bones of its target for 1d4 rounds, making them brittle and prone to breaking. A PC must make an applicable roll after every hit during the 1d4 rounds on this chart to see if any bones get broken. So their hand, their arm, their foot, leg, ribs, or head. And I think that's a little bit of crunchy fun. It's good because, once again, these aren't the characters we play in Shadow Dark are not superheroes. Bad things can happen. Joe the lawyer's character lost fingers. You can break some bones. And then it gets into roll versus applicable stat. Failure causes PC to sit down. The marrow rot. Excuse me. This spell targets the very marrow of life. Its victims, causing extreme despair and unwillingness to fight or even live. That could get real dark depending on the game you're playing, right? Then roll versus applicable stat. Failure causes PC to sit down, drop their weapon, enter or crawl in a hole, and assume the fetal position for 1d4 rounds. I don't think these are too hard. I don't think these are too OP. I don't think they're... but you're welcome to share in the chat. If you think they are, go ahead. I don't think they are. I think they're... I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to think if I'm a character and I'm playing, do I want this to happen to me? With things like... the goal isn't to take them out of... take them out of combat, like things like paralyzation or hold spells, things like that. I get it. But you got to have some real threats in there. Moving along, subclass, necrologist. Now, when you type in, you Google necrologist, because I just looked it up. I thought, well, a necrologist would be good. Is that a scientist? Is that a biologist? Nope. It's somebody who writes obituary notices. So these are like scrolls, right? The person may be a poet, a musician, a journalist, or all of the above. Could be a bard. Could be a subclass of a bard. Scroll options, save versus applicable stat, whatever it is you want them to roll against. This is laid to rest. So I would have, you can write these out, and maybe I'll write them out in the future, maybe not. But for the sake of time and space within the zine, somebody could write it up. This is great role play where they're going to recite the obituary, just like you'd read an obituary at somebody's funeral. But they're going to have to read it out loud. And it causes 1d4 corrupted to lay down and rest for 1d4 rounds. And you could say, oh, my mighty undead, we lay you to rest. Your journey has been hard. Lie down and sleep for a while, and so forth. Just like you were, laying somebody to rest at a funeral. Then you can do Fire of Judgment. Causes 1d6 points of fire damage to 1d4 corrupted. And you, once again, can read the obituary and talk about the fire of judgment upon their souls. And say, this person who died and came back is probably, burning somewhere, if you want to put that in there. Let's see, Gathering of Saints. I kind of like this one. I messed around with it, and I messed with the chart a little bit. It says, calls undead anywhere near the necrologist to come to their aid. They will fight until destroyed. Roll on the Gathering of Saints chart. So you have 1d10 normal undead, 2 no undead, no dead available, 1d8 shadow horde available, 1d12 undead animals. And then what kind of animals do you get? Well, you can get 1d4 bears, squirrels, raccoons, and these are going to be kind of random. That's why rats are in there. Birds are in there. Rats and birds are kind of everywhere. Squirrels are kind of everywhere. And you can expand this chart as you choose. You can make it a 1d12. You can make it 1d20, which, maybe I'll do in the future. And then I also put in there that the necrologist, every 3 levels, the necrologist gains 2 new scrolls and 1 damage die is added to the pool. So if it's 1d4 damage, it goes to 2d4. If it's, so forth, right? And then that's it. That's the Then I offer some recommended undead resources that I think are pretty cool. And then I put a few other little things in the back. Once again, I'm trying to get better at formatting the zine and so forth. And then I put things like more crit happens in there, and all those are linked up, that if you don't have those, you can always click on the links to these individual ones if you don't have them. And I have ones that are not connected to the hex crawl, right? I still have the back to school issue that's right here. I still have, other ones like pirates, things of that nature. So, I'm trying to get better at formatting, and then I have other resources that are in my store as well.